Hello, light-hearted Rainbow Tribe. Ye are the salt of the earth. Ye are the light of the world. Perhaps you can see the beautiful aureole, the spiraling rainbow up in the sky. So let us be still and centered like the sun amid the rainbow. These are a beautiful sign of our wholeness, our full spectrum wholeness, fullness and completion. So in my reading this morning, I was struck by a phrase, "Ye are the light of the world," something that Jesus said. And I wanted to kind of research that a little bit. That's kind of the way my system works. Likes to find stuff out. And it led me to, the Gospel of Matthew. And it's in chapter 4. And it's at the end of, the Sermon on the Mount, of the Beatitudes, the beautiful, "Blessed are ye that" statements that he made there. And he said at the end, he said, "Ye are the salt of the earth." And should the salt of the earth lose its flavor, it's worthless. And then he said, "Ye are the light of the world." And the light of the world is not meant to be hidden. It's meant to be shown. It's not to be under a bushel. It's to be out there shining. And who was he speaking to? He was speaking to regular, everyday people. Not only his disciples, but many people from the area around Capernaum and Galilee that had gathered because of his healings, because of what he was doing, who he was, showing up as the light of the world himself. And these were not the educated, the theologians, the scholars of his time. These were not the priests. In fact, he wasn't all that fond of the the Sanhedrin, the Pharisees, the various people in charge during his time. So he was given to offer everything that he had to offer to regular, everyday people. So my curiosity, this beautiful aspect of being, that just was like, so what is meant by the salt of the earth, especially in his time? What would those people have heard? And I realized because Jesus was an initiate, he was a very advanced spiritual being. And so what he said was layered. Everything he said was layered. And so, of course, there's the, people do the surface layer and the literal translations and meanings of things, and that's lovely. And so, this was before refrigeration, and so salt was a curative and a preservative of foods so that they lasted longer and people could survive. But it says something more when it says, ye are the salt of the earth. And so my exploration went many places. It was really fun. And one of the places that it went to was the recognition that it is a certain form, and it's not molecular, it's electrical. It's an ionic form. And it's a cubic form. And so that's a sacred geometry. And it's a crystalline form, which means that part of its function is not only as a curative, but it actually cleanses, it cures. And as a crystalline form, it receives information and transmits it. That's a natural crystalline form. And the minerals, of which salt is one in our bodies, sodium, is a crystalline form. And the thing that's very interesting about salt is that it can dissolve in water, but when the water evaporates, the salt is still there. So it maintains its structure and form. And that's a pretty wonderful thing. I don't know what's going on over there. Somebody's got some kind of an engine of some kind. Looks like a boat, a motor on a boat that is now going into the water. Spring has sprung. The water has melted, so the boats are going in. And there he goes. Okay, salt in the water maintains its crystalline structure. And the beautiful thing about everything is that it is the beautiful presence of God informing itself, literally informing, taking shape and form, crystallizing into form. Now you see around me these beautiful trees, and I just want to tune in with the plant people on the earth and the beautiful recognition of their being rooted in the ground as well as branching up and out into the sky. And there's a beautiful process that goes on between bioenergetic frequencies of crystalline forms and living forms. Because we have minerals in our body, but we can't get them by eating rocks. We're not designed for that. Although when little kids are playing in mud puddles and seem to have to eat dirt, And we find that eating dirt is not such a bad thing after all. But our digestive system is more designed to work with the energetic forms that we call minerals that come through plants. And so when you look at what happens, when you recognize everything is energy and frequency of this informing itself, and that one of the things that happens between the soil and the roots is a resonant, energetic interaction that allows the root to attract to itself the positively charged minerals and uptake them into its plant life, such that we have the leaves and the fruits and even the edible blossoms in some cases coming up to us from the beautiful gifts from the earth. When we look at the level of radical transmutative shift that we are in, especially in, the ongoing deepening of our realization of our unity with all life, and especially at its more essential forms. And the movement that is this energetic, resonant, vibrational interaction between different crystalline structures and formations of positive and negative and neutral poles. Yeah, another little 3, positive, negative, neutral. And that dance and play of energy and taking shapes and forms. And that our physical form gets informed by the crystallized energy in the foods that we eat. The closer to its natural state, the less the information is disturbed. And so when we recognize, this is actually the way the presence is also informing itself, is by the ingestion and the digestion of natural foods. And the more natural it is, the more undisturbed it is in its growth process, the more that it carries the information that our body needs. Because everything is shifting in its vibrational frequency. And there's lots of tests and studies going on about how the vibrational frequencies are shifting and changing. That our planetary vibrational frequency is going higher. And that is being communicated to us directly through the vibrational frequency of the foods that we're eating. All of this information, all of this transmitting through the crystalline formations. Salt is a crystalline formation. Ye are the salt of the earth. And then if you want to get into the sacred geometry of it, you get into the sacred geometry of a cube. One of the, what they call basic structures of life are the Platonic solids, one of which is a cube, which is 6 sides having equal square shape. 6 sides, square shape. And you can run a line across the diagonally across the middle, and you have 2 triangles, which is also a basic Platonic solid. And so the crystalline formation that is the salt of the earth is the recognition of the informing of consciousness and of light, of the speaking that is resonating in the field and crystallizing itself into formation, and thereby transmitting the information. So when we're functioning as the rainbow bridge, the one that we just saw in the sky, perhaps it's still there, I don't know, it's behind me, above me. This recognition that we are the light of the world, in part because we are the salt of the earth. We are the crystalline formation, and that continual information is passing through us, right through the very process of eating. So if you're not considering the food that you eat and the act of eating something that's sacred, you might want to reconsider that. And you definitely want to be eating more beautiful, clean, clear foods, unadulterated, straight from the earth, as close to living as possible. And because cooking changes things. It's a interesting transmutative process, and we still get, some nutrients out of that, but it's not the same. So the recognition, ye are the salt of the earth. I'm just loving that expression. And ye are the light of the world. And to recognize that those two go together, spirit and matter are one. The creative dynamic aliveness is everywhere in everything all the time. And we are meant to shine forth in that truth. Deeply connected with the earth, with the crystallization of this that informs itself. How wonderful is that? So I encourage you to play with these notions, to take what rings true for you, what feels interesting, what you might like, and experience, live it. Take a little time with the foods that you're eating. See if you can feel your way, sense your way into this beautiful recognition. Ask the apple that you're eating, what is it that it has to communicate of its own essence, of its own experience? And the amazing thing is that, today we're eating things from all around the planet. It's not just locally grown information that we're getting. We're getting information from all over the place. Directly through the foods that we eat. So the expression, she or he is the salt of the earth, it speaks to something really lovely about someone being really grounded, really present, solid, good person, here for others, being of benefit to the people around them. That's a very simple and lovely expression. And when we go deeper and deeper into it, we can come all the way into the most esoteric level of the Metatron's cube, of the sacred geometry of life, of the template for existence, the matrix, whatever the words of the unified field. There are lots of words that we use to attempt to describe this. But it's the recognition that what we thought was a void also has within it this infinite intelligence, this all-knowingness that expresses itself in shapes and forms that are all about its love of being, its knowing of itself as being, and its love of being. And it's not an it, and it's not somewhere else. It's us. We are this word expressed, this creative life force energy, this infinite intelligence, this loving presence, a silent awareness. This is our true nature. This is us. And the time is come for us to step forth out of the shadow, and not to convince, not to proselytize, just to shine. And shine in the light of truth. And watch what happens. And of course, there's nobody here who can shine. I'm not shining right now. I'm not purposefully shining. It's the illuminating presence. It naturally shines. So to be the light of the world and the salt of the earth is to be who we are. And this open, receptive, because that's even the thing about the roots, is that they're drawing in because they're receiving from the soil. They're drawing in the nutrients that they need. It's the same thing. When we get silent and still, we draw in everything needed from the infinite. And that is light, and it illumines the mind, it illuminates the heart, it illuminates the cellular structure, the body. So this is our wonderful discovery for today. I hope it is beneficial, encouraging, and enlivening for you. And that the more of us who show up illumined as the light of the world, the better off the world will be. So as always, thank you so much for joining, offering out the deep blessings of your own enrichment by the presence within, in all the wonderful ways that you do. And in this moment we offer out all of the benefit of this investigation, exploration, and expression to be of benefit to the people of the world and to the planet. May all awaken in the realization everyone is the salt of the earth. Everyone is the light of the world. Because it's really all that's here. Truth be told,